everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Cokes. I'm the founder of Unlikely Collaborators. This Spark Salon is about rituals, how rituals create meaning for us. This morning's guest, Michael Norton, is a professor at Harvard Business School and one of the world's leading thinkers on how rituals can be used to expand the walls of our perception box and help us feel simultaneously more connected to our community and grounded within ourselves. Welcome, Michael Norton.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I have been sort of astounded, especially in the last 5 years, even the last 3 years, at the number of companies that have started to use rituals in their marketing. And I don't mean instructing you to do rituals. I mean literally naming their products the word ritual or rituals. If you Google ritual brand and just image search, it's like all day. But I'll show you just some. Like, so in the morning, you might want to take a shower. Maybe you want to wash your hands, so you can use rituals or hand ritual. You may want to take some vitamins, so you can take ritual for men or for women, depending on which one you want. You got to get dressed. Maybe you got to put some jewelry on. You got to have your coffee, of course. If you don't like coffee, you may want to have tea, ritual tea, or rituals tea. Maybe you get hungry, so you want a little chocolate in the middle of the day. But I could go on. And the question is, that what is the feeling of all of these different brands across all of these different situations in life? It's very little to do with each other. And yet the belief is ritual has some power in it that maybe we can use to connect with our consumers. And then the question is, of course, do rituals actually do anything at all? That was the question that I started with. As a scientist, I was very skeptical of rituals, that people could get a lot of benefits or a lot of emotions out of these kinds of behaviors. And then very quickly, when you start studying them, you see, wow, they provoke a really wide range of emotions. And they're actually very, very important in the big things in our lives, but also in the small things in our lives. So, big question, what are they? It's a very, very difficult question. So, in the morning, when you're getting ready, do you brush your teeth and take a shower, or do you take a shower and then brush your teeth? So raise your hand if you brush your teeth and then take a shower. Raise your hand if you shower and then brush your teeth. So one of the most bizarre things about this entire research program is all over the world, it's about 50-50. Humans have not figured out the correct order to do these two activities. And people get very upset sometimes with people who do it differently. If you feel very strongly that your way is correct, did you ever try the other way for a period of months and carefully test your emotions at the end of each time, and then sum up those emotions over the course of months or years, and then make a reasonable, rational decision which one was better? Or did you just start doing it the way you do it and you have no idea, no idea why? For most people, it's just, I just do it that way. I don't know why. And for most of you, you haven't thought of it really as a ritual. It's just something that you got to get done in the morning. And for those of you who said, I can switch the order of those, why would I care what order I do those in? They're more of a habit. So habits are the thing you're doing in order to get it done. It's the activity itself. Rituals tend to add emotion and add meaning to the very same behaviors. So if you're bothered, if you have positive emotions when you do it the way you like to do it, if you have negative emotions, if you can't do it the way you want to do it, that's when it starts to move toward being more of a ritual. And this is why it's hard to study habits and rituals, actually, is because the same exact behavior for one person can be a habit with no meaning or emotion at all. And for another person, the same thing can be a ritual that they feel very upset if they disrupt. Which means that to understand the psychology of rituals, we can't just watch people and say, aha, that person's definitely doing a ritual. We have to ask them. We have to understand their subjective experience and the emotion and meaning and memory that they're bringing to that activity. What was crazy to me is the number of different domains in life in which one of the tools we use is rituals. Other tools are available, and yet across all of these domains, and we'll talk about a bunch of different domains today, we seem to think that rituals will make things more than just a regular day or a regular experience. They'll imbue them with something a little bit more. Okay, so let's address the skeptics in the room. I can see some of you. Let's see. Are you a skeptic, Michael? Have you ever, Michael, made a cake and you're going to serve it to some people. And before you serve it to those people, here's what you decide to do. You take some wax candles and you jam a bunch of them in the cake. Then you light the candles on fire so the wax drips all over the cake. Then you put the cake in front of a 7-year-old who probably has a cold and ask them to blow all over the cake. And then you cut the cake and serve it to everybody. Have you ever done that?
I have.
What is that?
It's a birthday.
It's a birthday. Technically, the thing is eating a cake, right? That's the what, is we're going to eat a cake. And you can just buy a cake and eat it yourself if you want to. But we can use rituals to turn a cake into something way more meaningful and way more important. As a scientist, I was very skeptical of rituals, that people could get a lot of benefits or a lot of emotions out of these kinds of behaviors. And then very quickly, when you start studying them, you see, wow, they provoke a really wide range of emotions. And they're actually very, very important in the big things in our lives, but also in the small things in our lives. Have you ever been thirsty and filled a glass with liquid? And then before you drink the liquid, you, with other people, raise the glass, smash the glass against their glass so that some of it spills, and then drink the drink. Almost every culture that we've seen does that in one way or another. They have a beverage, they hold it up and they smash it together, and they say a 1 or 2 word phrase, usually meaning cheers or health or love or happiness. It feels so normal to do, and yet it's just, most of the time we drink liquid out of glasses, we do not look around and make sure there's somebody and smash it against them before we do it. Why are we doing it there? Because it's not just a glass of liquid anymore. Now it's a celebration of us, or of someone's achievement, or of someone's birthday, or of some tradition that we have together that we've been doing for a long time. And that, to me, is part of the promise of rituals, is that they're able to take nothing, in a sense, and turn it into something that really can be quite meaningful. By the way, one thing that rituals do for us is they help us experience emotions that are otherwise very hard to experience. Big place that we use rituals is performing at work, and if you are a performer of any kind. It is extraordinary the number of people, if you ask them when you are nervous before giving a talk or teaching or giving a big presentation at work or getting on stage and performing, what do you do? The number of people who are like, what I do is I find a bathroom and I look under the stalls to make sure nobody else is in the bathroom. And then I go to the mirror and I talk to myself in the mirror to psych myself up or calm myself down. People use them for both, which is kind of, again, interesting. Same thing, but for different purposes. I think that's so fascinating, because the idea that talking to yourself in the mirror would help in any way is just like an unusual thing that we think. At the same time, we don't have magical ways to feel calm. But rituals we turn to them because of the uncertainty. We don't have another solution in place. So we say, I'm going to try ritual. Let me bring ritual to bear and see if it can help me at all. Can we just hear from a couple of people what it is that you do when you need to do something?
I used to teach for over 30 years. And before, when I walked into the classroom, I would say to myself, it's showtime.
Love it. Love it.
I play the violin. And so whenever I have a public performance, I always have to have a rehearsal, ideally the day before, and it has to go badly. And if it doesn't go badly, then I am much more nervous the day of the performance. But if it goes badly the day before, then I'm like, okay, I got the mistakes out, and it calms me down.
When we asked people about rituals in their relationships, mainly what they told us were little stories of their little things that they did with their partner that are, I'm just going to say, adorbs. Okay, let me show you a couple of these, okay? This couple, they don't remember when they started doing this, but it's amazing, right? So they're taking, I don't know if there's something more boring in the world than silverware. They completely turn silverware into something amazing between the two of them, and they always make sure to do it. Here's another person. When we kiss, we do it in threes. Not sure why this started, but after 22 years, it feels really weird if it is not in threes. Some couples have 2, some couples have each cheek. There's the variety of rituals that couples have is really pretty endless.
When I'm really tired, my husband will notice and he'll come to where I'm on the couch and I'll stand on his feet and he'll walk me to the bathroom on his feet. And we call it Ubering me to the bathroom.
One of the ways we know these are so important is because if we ask couples who've broken up, how would you feel about your ex starting to date somebody new? And they say, well, I wouldn't really like that, but they're allowed to date other people. Okay, well, how about if they get married to somebody and say, I wouldn't love that, but I mean, they're allowed to get on with their lives. And then we say, well, how would you feel if they reuse your ritual? And people are like, I would kill them. Like if you looked over, if we got divorced and I looked over and you were clinking silverware with your new partner, think how hurtful that is for reasons that are obvious and yet very difficult to explain, because it's such a expression of who we are and how much we love each other. To reuse that, you can get married and have kids and do whatever you want. You may not clink silverware with somebody else because that really hits us in the gut. It says it wasn't a special relationship. Let's talk about rituals at work. One of the huge problems at work is leaving work behind. Once again, what humans do is they do a lot of things, but they use rituals to try to leave work behind. We did some qualitative research with emergency room nurses, which is, I can't say for sure, but has to be one of the most stressful, difficult jobs in the world. So we asked these emergency room nurses, what do you do? How do you leave work behind? One person said, after clocking out for the day, I consciously take my badge off and put it in my work bag. As I do this, I tell myself I'm finished, and I think about how I'm done being responsible for my patients for the day. When showering after work, I must imagine the entire hospital turning into liquid and circling down the drain. After the hospital goes down the drain, I can no longer think about the events of that day. We don't have ways that we can leave work behind that are perfect. And so you can see why people turn to things like this. And in fact, what we see is if we ask people, are you able to unwind? Are you able to literally like decompress after work? People who have these kinds of rituals are better at separating work life from home life. When we think about rituals, and when I started this, what I was thinking of were the legacy kind of rituals. Weddings and funerals and religious ceremonies, they play so many different roles in so many important things. But what we also found was this other category of rituals where we can do it ourselves. And in the examples you shared, those were not from ancient books. Those were things that you came up with often yourself from scratch. And we can see that they still have a lot of meaning and emotional depth for people. So we're able to DIY our rituals and still have them have an impact on us. When you leave, think about where are the places where you're using rituals already and just recognize them as that. That's the easy one. The other one is if there's domains where something's missing, try experimenting with rituals. If you don't get nervous before meetings, don't do anything new because you're fine. If you get nervous before meetings, rituals are one thing you can experiment with to see if they'll help you. Thank you all so much. It was really great to chat.